This is making me question everybody that I know. Hi everybody! If my face looks all funny, messed up, whatever, I'm sorry, I'm getting over a cold. You might hear me say that in a few other videos as well because I've been shooting like crazy this week. And I'm just feeling so today I'm gonna do my first true crime video. I have been watching these for what seems like forever. I absolutely adore Kendall Ray. I don't know if you know who she is. She's fantastic. And then Bella Fiore, I recently discovered her. And both of them handle the true crime cases. Bella Fiore actually also covered a video on this specific case, and I've also been watching her videos as well, and she's fantastic. If I get something wrong, I'm sorry, I'm not a professional. I don't work with crime cases at all. I just really find it interesting to know. I just want to figure out what goes on in somebody's mind to do the things that they do. I don't know why. I had a morbid curiosity since I've been like freaking 3 years old. So I don't know where they came from. But without further ado, I'm going to be talking about this case. Now this case really hits me hard. It's really close to home. So as I said before, for those of you who don't know, I am originally a South African. I come from South Africa. I was born and raised there, and this story actually plays off for the most part in South Africa, and it breaks my heart because for those of you who do not know South Africa well, South Africa it's got a really high crime rate. So when you do hear about a murder in South Africa, it's not really a big deal. It's like, oh well, another one, like there was 10 yesterday, so why worry about another one? But this one is different. You guys will understand why I say so in a little bit. So this one is going to be about the Van Breda family murders. I just want to mention, this is going to be explained a little bit more later on in the story, but I don't know if you've heard about the Balaclava gang before. Now the Balaclava gang was a gang, well is a gang, they're still going strong in South Africa, where they literally wear balaclavas and they're very messed up in drugs and murder and rape and all of those things. So for a long while in South Africa, between 2015 and 2017, the murders from the Balaclava gang spiked, and people were actually fearing them. Just remember that while we carry on, because this is going to be an important part of the story later on. So first I want to give like a little introduction to the family and the background. Sorry if I don't look, I'm probably just reading. I'm not going to study this word for word. I'm sorry. The Van Breda family were a family of 5 members. It was Martin Van Breda, who was at the time 54, his wife Teresa Van Breda, who was 55, their eldest son was Rudy Van Breda, who was 22 at the time, and then they had their middle child Henry, who was 20 at the time, and their youngest and only daughter, was 16 at the time. Now, they were a very close family. Martin was a huge businessman. Martin decided he wants to move his business over to Australia, and that is when they moved to Perth a few years back. Later on, Rudy did decide that he wants to go to Melbourne University, so he packed up and left. And Henry decided that he wants to do the same thing, and he wants to study physics at the same university as Rudy. Henry packed up and left and joined his brother. Eventually the family couldn't handle it anymore, being so far away from their boys, so they packed up and they moved closer to them as well. I do not think they moved into Melbourne, but I think they were pretty close. Eventually Martin decided that it is too difficult running the business from Australia when the business is basically based in South Africa. In January 2014, Martin, Teresa and Marley all moved back to South Africa. Martin decided that it was the best choice due to him not being able to run the business from Australia, and the business was basically based in South Africa. So that is when he packed up the family and they left, where Rudy and Henry stayed behind to finish their studies. So they moved to a really, really big, beautiful house in De Zalza Estate in Stellenbosch. Now this, if you look at maps, you will see that it's like a golf course. They also have really large, beautiful family homes there. Basically, it is impossible to get into a security area without an access card or an access code. You need permission from the family. The family needs to know that you are going. You need access given to you by the family. Otherwise, you cannot get in. There are cameras everywhere, security guards by the entry gates. They've got 12-foot walls with electric fencing. There's quite a few of these in South Africa due to the high crime rate. So it was pretty safe to be in this kind of area. On August 14th, 2014, Henry decided university was not for him anymore, so he dropped out. He did say that he was only going to take a gap year. December 2014, Rudy decided to go back home for the holidays and spend time with his family over Christmas and the school holidays, and return back to university when university started. For the first time in a while, the whole family was back together again, and this meant so much to them. Guys, I'm reading all of this now, but there's so much. Like, I've been making my notes. I have like 15 pages of this written, and it's all over the place. But let's carry on. On January 26th, 2015, everyone was still there. Rudy didn't have to go back yet. So it was a basic South African evening. It was a Monday night. Like, everybody just did their own thing. Madly was in a room studying or doing homework or whatever. Teresa was making food. Rudy was, I don't even know what he was doing. And then Martin and Henry were just sitting and chilling and having some drinks together. Just basic bonding family time. Eventually they did all get together for dinner, and after dinner Teresa was obviously clearing up and everyone went back to doing their own thing, but Martin, Rudy and Henry all went to the living room because they did get a new surround sound and they wanted to test this out. They watched Star Trek. Henry did explain that they finished watching long before 10 p.m. because everyone was quite tired. People had to go to work the next day and to school, and that's when everybody just up and left to go to bed. Henry and Rudy was sharing a room. Rudy was fast asleep, and then Henry couldn't fall asleep. He was wide awake. I think we all know how that feels, like you just can't fall asleep. So he decided to keep himself busy on the laptop for a few hours. Eventually he decided he had to go to the bathroom. He took his phone with him, so obviously he was gonna be there for a while. And so he was in the bathroom doing his thing, and he started hearing a commotion. This was between 2 and 3 a.m. on the 27th of January 2015. He finished up what he was doing and he went out. Now his room was located right across from the bathroom where he was in. So when he left the bathroom and he was standing in the hall, he saw a person with a balaclava mask fighting his brother, Rudy. He was basically attacking him with an axe, and Henry was shocked. He stood there, he didn't know what to do but scream. So he did start screaming. His father Martin came from downstairs to basically see what's going on. So his dad saw what happened and Martin went into the room and tried to fight the attacker. The attacker then grabbed the axe and also attacked Martin, where he was repeatedly hitting him like from behind his head down to his back with this axe. And finally, even though Martin and Rudy were both just lying there, not moving at all, this attacker apparently still carried on hitting Martin. And this is where Teresa finally came upstairs to see what's the commotion about. So when she came upstairs, she saw what was going on and she ran. So the attacker obviously followed her into the passageway, and Henry just heard his mother screaming. He got the axe from the attacker. So Rudy says that apparently the attacker then, they both got sidetracked because they heard Rudy gargling, and that's not a good sign. So obviously Henry was looking for something. His brother is basically dying and there's nothing he can do about it, and the attacker just didn't know what was going on, so he just probably looked and saw what was going on. So when the attacker looked back and he saw Rudy, he grabbed a knife out of his pants and started stabbing towards Henry's chest. He did scab him a little bit here and there, but nothing major. So this is when Henry apparently slammed the axe into his shoulder, the attacker's shoulder, and he got him in the shoulder. When he grabbed the axe back, the guy slashed him on his arm, slashed his entire arm open, and he stabbed him in his side. This is where Henry explained that it was so deep that he actually had to, with force, remove the knife from his side. So the attacker ran because now he doesn't have any weapons. So let me just fix this. So the attacker ran, and then obviously Rudy with the axe followed. And when they got into the passage, obviously Henry then followed the attacker. So when they got into the passage, Henry did explain that there was so much blood everywhere, and he saw his sister and his mom lying on the floor. His mom wasn't moving, but he did notice that his sister was moving. So he got a little bit sidetracked by that, and he wanted to help her, but obviously he couldn't because now the attacker's getting away. So he decided to rather chase after the attacker. So he ran after the attacker, and when he came at the top foot of the stairs, he noticed the attacker was getting away. So he chucked the axe at the attacker. And he says that's the last thing he can remember when he fell down the stairs. He was unconscious, and he says he doesn't know for how long. When he woke up, he noticed that the door was open and there was no attacker. This is where things get a little bit weird. The first thing he does is he phones his girlfriend back in Australia. He speaks to her about, I don't know what they spoke about, to be honest, but in nowhere it doesn't say what they spoke about. But they spoke for a while, and after he spoke to her, he wanted to phone emergency services. When he grabbed his phone, he blacked out. Now, he finally woke up, and when he came to, he decided he needs a cigarette. After he smoked, he googled the emergency number, and he phoned the number. I'm so annoyed with this. I'm going to play the clip, just a little part of the clip, between Henry and the lady that he was speaking to at emergency services.
What is your emergency?
Yeah.
I need an ambulance. Lots of.
You need an ambulance?
Yes, please.
What's your name, sir?
Henry from Breda.
Henry. What's the contact number you're phoning from?
My home phone number, but I'm not sure what the home phone number is. My cell phone. We're at 12 Husker Street, please.
What is this number that you're phoning from? Is there someone else that can speak if you're not able to?
No.
Who else is in the house?
There's no one else.
Everyone else. I need the contact number, please.
Yeah. Okay. 021.
021.
8800.
8800.
493.
493. And you need the ambulance to go to what?
Number 12, Husker Street.
Hoskes.
Husker. G-O-S.
G-O-S.
K-E.
What area is this?
It's in Stellenbosch, and it's in the Zolzer estate.
Number 12, Hoskes Street in Stellenbosch.
Yes.
I'm not picking it up for Stellenbosch. I'm picking it up for Boertesig Milnerton.
We're in the Zolzer winelands. It's an estate. D-E, and another word, Z-A-L-Z-E.
D-E-Z-A-L-Z-E.
Yeah, D-E.
I'm not picking it up, for Stellenbosch. What area in Stellenbosch are you in?
I don't know. That's all that. We're in Zolzer Winelands. It's an estate. It's a security estate.
Are you sure it's 12 Hoskes Street?
Yes,
Hoskes
absolutely.
is in Boertesig Milnerton, eh? And you're saying you're out in Stellenbosch?
Yes.
What? And you don't know what area in Stellenbosch?
I'm not sure how much more specific I need to be.
8800-493.
Yeah.
Just check the number. On police system, that number picks up. I'm picking up Bach Street, number 4.
No.
In Stellenbosch.
Yeah, can you please just send an ambulance, or more than one ambulance, to the Zolzer Winelands in Stellenbosch?
The Zolzer?
Yeah, can you find that, please?
The Zolzer.
I don't know about you guys, but that is the most frustrating, annoying call that I've ever heard in my life. I mean, if you explain to someone that works in emergency services that your family got hurt and they are practically dying and you're begging for someone to send an ambulance, you are not going to struggle to figure out where this house is. You're not going to take your time to try and figure out where the police has to go. Send the police while you're on the phone with this person and see if the police can at least find them. Because after this, the police apparently found the house with no problems whatsoever. They put the address in the little GPS-y thingy in the car. They got in the car and they went straight to the house. So how did this woman not pick it up at all? She was extremely incompetent in my view. I don't care what the situation was, because later on she did explain that she thought it was a prank call, which I can understand in some ways. But I mean, what if it wasn't? You don't play with someone's lives. And she did end up still sending the police. If you think it's a prank call, why would you send the police? And why would you take your time to try and figure out, like, yes, it could be a prank call and that would suck, but what if it wasn't? Like, it really wasn't. So we'll get back to that later. I need to meditate because my blood is boiling. Let us carry on. The fortunate thing is Mali did survive. Her injuries were so severe that she ended up getting retrograde amnesia. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's a type of amnesia where you basically forget everything in your life up until the incident that caused it. So she barely could remember anything. Obviously she could remember who her parents were and who her brother was and all of that, but she didn't know what happened that night. She barely even knew who she was. Unfortunately though, Martin, Teresa and Rudy were all pronounced dead at the scene, and the sad part about this is Mudley could not attend their funerals due to extensive therapy and rehabilitation to get better, because at this stage she could barely even walk. Henry ended up going to family. I'm not sure who, but he went to some family members. Now I understand where Henry's coming from. I mean, if you saw all of this happening, it's extremely, extremely traumatic. Sorry, just let the people pass because they are being so loud. This was out of Henry's perspective of what happened. Obviously Marley could not testify due to her not being able to remember what happened. So Henry was literally the only person that could testify. There were two main suspects in this case. The first was the Balaclava gang. So I did explain to you guys who they are and what they do. They decided that it could be them due to the time that all of this happened, 2015. The Balaclava gang was quite talked about and everyone was fearing for their lives. They were terrified, so scared. And because Henry did explain that this guy obviously had a balaclava on mask. If you don't know what it is, it's like a mask that just has your eyes open. So this guy was wearing one and they kind of just naturally assumed that it is them. But after doing more research, they realized that there wasn't any chance that it could have been them. So later, Henry van Breda became their main suspect. This is the reason why. When they looked at the case, there was no struggle, no forced entry, nothing was stolen, no bloodied footprints. Now, that doesn't make sense because if there's so much blood, like Henry explained, someone will step in it. The attacker would step in it, obviously, and track it all over the house, but there was no footprints at all. This person used an axe and a knife. Both of these weapons belonged to the Van Breda family. If you look at the timeline, this is what gets me as well. 4:24 a.m. is when Henry phoned his girlfriend in Australia. And then afterwards he did explain that he fainted. Now, he woke up, had a smoke, which takes 5 minutes. And then he Googled emergency services number and then he phoned them. But he did that after 7 a.m. The Google search shows that he only Googled the numbers after 7 a.m. But he spoke to his girlfriend 4:24 a.m. which means he had to be unconscious for more than 2 hours. So he Googled the emergency numbers, which is a normal thing to do. But all the emergency numbers for South Africa was listed on the Van Breda family fridge. Teresa made sure all the numbers were on there in case of emergencies. And I think that's very vital, especially with having a teenager or a child in a house. You need to have this at hand because people of a younger age obviously can't think like that in situations like this. But Henry is 20 years old. He is aware that the numbers are on the fridge. I mean, he stays in this house. He's been there for a while. Why waste time by Googling? And then when they asked him about this, he said that it was to make sure that he got the right numbers to not waste time. The neighbor heard yelling and she says it was at 10 p.m. Henry then answered to this by saying, no, we weren't screaming at each other, it wasn't a domestic thing, we were watching the new Star Trek movie and we basically were just getting excited about the movie, and the surround sound was being tested, so it was really loud. But then this lady fought back and she was like, but no, I know what a movie sounds like, what people getting excited sounds like, and what a domestic fight sounds like. And she says that this was definitely domestic. And then also everybody in the family had so much injuries. Like, I mean, 3 of them had fatal injuries, and then Marley literally got amnesia. Now, how is it possible that Henry had barely any wounds? Like, he did explain that this knife was jabbed into his side so hard. When they did the examination on him, the experts did say that it was superficial injuries and that it was self-harm injuries. Henry was covered in blood from head to toe. Like, I understand that he got into this huge fight, but barely any of it was his own. When they tested the clothing he was wearing and the socks he was wearing, it was all his family's blood. And they say that he had to be so close to them when they were being murdered, like literally face to face. They questioned the operator from the emergency services. She did say that the reason why she wasn't rushed was because she did think that it was a prank call. The reason why she thought this was because Henry laughed. I'm going to play that clip again. He says that he did not laugh, and he said, please. Kind of like he pleaded. He got frustrated and he was like, please. But to me personally, I've listened to this over and over and over again. To me personally, this sounds like a laugh.
This is unconscious, huh?
Yes, and bleeding from the head, please.
That definitely sounds like a laugh. Tell me in the comments what you think about that. Okay, so when they did say that he was a suspect and that he was involved now, his lawyer obviously warned him. On June 14th, 2016, Henry van Breda turned himself in. On April 24th, 2017, the trial began. Henry pleaded not guilty. On 31 October 2017, Henry took the stand and he quoted everything. The story he was telling now and the story he told the police that was in the official police statement did not match up. He said he gave 2 completely different stories. So even though he did spend months studying his story, he studied the wrong story. He didn't study right. Like, how was this kid in university? But anyway, when they did say that he said something else in the police statement, he said, no, the police took it wrong, that is not what I said. But something he forgot is when the police take your statement, they make you read through it probably like, not even once, like probably like 2 or 3 times to make sure that everything is correct. And you have to sign on that statement that you read and everything is correct. And he signed. And they spoke to the body corporate of the estate, who gave proof that nobody came in according to the cameras. There was nobody captured on the cameras anywhere around the estate that anybody got in there. The security did not check him in. Nobody came into the gate under their passcode at that time. There was no forced entry. Like I said, nothing was broken or taken or anything. So they did prove that nobody else came in. But what they did not prove yet was that it was definitely Rudy who committed the murders. Now they had to prove this. But it didn't take long for them to do this, and they finally, after questioning him a few times and making him tell the story over and over and over again, hoping to catch him, they finally got a few things against him. They found the following. The blood splatter analysis did not match what Henry was saying. They found inconsistency and holes in almost all of his stories. The trial lasted a total of 63 days. On February 2018, Henry van Breda was prosecuted and all claims against him were circumstantial. Henry van Breda was sentenced to the following. He got 1 life sentence for the murder of Martin van Breda. He got 1 life sentence for the murder of Teresa van Breda, and he got 1 life sentence for the murder of Rudy van Breda. He got 15 years sentence for attempted murder of Marley van Breda, and he got a 1-year sentence for obstruction of justice. Who can you really trust with your life? Like, this is making me question everybody that I know, including my family. I mean, I've been mad at my family before. Like, my mother... Mom, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. But my mother can frustrate the living hell out of me. And I frustrate the living hell out of her. But I've never once thought of killing her. I mean, that's so unnecessary. Why? I need a drink. Or 500. I'm gonna go and meditate and edit this and all my other videos that I haven't touched yet because I'm a lazy... I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!